Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is May the 6th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar and 1441 on the ancient sun calendar and 2021 on the ancient Greco-Roman calendar. I want to give you an update on the Moroccan-American exchange and how all of that is going. The appointments are going very, very smoothly so far. They're smoothing out, let me put it that way, because for the heirs who want to discuss the inheritance and investment packet and what they mean, the appointments have been made, and we're sending out emails with appointment times on them, and those appointments are being filled. We did have a couple of times where either appointments were overlapping, or we had, 3 more show up for one appointment, and those sorts of things. We're working through those as we go. So please be patient with us as we get the banking piece and the inheritance and investment piece smoothed out. The Moroccan-American exchange is doing very well in terms of the investments that have been made by the heirs. We have, and I hesitate to give a specific number, but we have over 400 million in investments that have come forth by the heirs, which we're very, very excited about that. And there are more investments waiting in the wings. We have not made it through all of our emails, but we're going to make it through them here. And we're excited about that. It's never going to be too much for us to handle, because this is what we've been waiting for in terms of getting our sovereign gold-backed economy going. That's what's happening right now with the creation of an active vehicle or conveyance method by which gold and silver can move freely. Gold and silver can move much freer in an economy that's created by the heirs versus anything created by anyone else. And all we're doing is setting up, and not even setting it up because it's already set up, activating and proving our competence in these areas so that we can accept and command all that our ancestors have for us. So we're just proving that we're ready to move gold and silver throughout our land and throughout the earth. I'm very, very proud to say that we have whole governments coming to us now wanting the packet. And we're excited about that too, because it's creating the vehicle by which gold and silver instruments and gold and silver currency can go back and forth through the heirs. And we're in complete control of it because we're creating that mechanism. I just recently heard along the way talking about, things like cryptocurrency and things like that. And the hybrids are now admitting that crypto is not a currency. To them, it's an asset where they store energy, but it's not a currency. And they don't want to call it a currency because to them, currencies can be taxed by the government, which is us. And they're right about that. We have the authority to tax anything moving on our land claiming to be currency when we know that we're the currency. So they have changed from calling it cryptocurrency to calling it crypto asset. And, you know, we're just minding our business here. So light and dark, there can only be one. There's always only been one government. And there's always going to be only one government. It's the Moors, period. And that's however the Moors choose to be the government. We are the law and we are the government. So we had to create this method by which, and this system, and it's not a creation, it's just an activation. We had to activate the gold-back standard, the gold standard, the mechanism by which the gold can move, and then manifestation of the actual gold, which liens, court actions, and all of that is gold because it's being done by the gold makers, which is the Moors. Everything we touch turns to gold. Everything. So I wanted to take just a moment and go over the Al-Moroccan American Exchange dividend document. It's a one-page document. It's very simple and to the point. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask the questions so that we can answer them and ensure that everyone has a clear understanding of exactly what we're doing. We've been asking, and not really asking, we knew that the economy and the gold and everything belonged to us. We knew that. We've always known it. But we've been asking in the past when we were not really at the point where we're at right now, we were asking, how is that going to manifest? Well, it's going to manifest the same way everything else that we've done manifests. When we wanted courts, Article 3 courts to manifest on the land, we had to do it. All Moors had to do it. And there are many Moors who are still, in the process of learning to do their own court action. I speak to Moors all the time, today included, who are incarcerated, who they're asking for Article 3 courts. And so we give them the court language, the sovereign court language, so that they can do it while they're in there. Because we can't keep saying that those courts are fake, those hybrid corporate courts are fake, and, we can't keep saying that and not produce the real one. And we can't keep saying the money's fake, because that fiat is fake, and everyone knows that. Well, we have to produce the real one. And then the goods, the food and all of that they produce, we know that that stuff is synthetic and it's not natural. Well, we have to show what the natural food is and show what the real money is. And that's what we're doing with the Al-Moroccan American Exchange. And these now it's up to 221 companies, sovereign, original, indigenous companies that our ancestors started, that we have uncovered and found that they left them to us, and that we're the heirs to them and all of the resources that come with them. And so it's up to us to get that moving. And I will say that clearly we're ready, because the response has been amazing, absolutely amazing. Our ancestors know exactly what they're doing. So let's continue growing and doing our demonstrations. And for those who are ready to move forward economically, and again, there's no rush for anyone who's not ready. It's no rush. But there are those of us who are ready. And for us, it's not a rush, but we're going to get it done, you know. So things are going really well with that. Our appointment times have been filling up very quickly. Right now, we're only doing appointments on Saturdays and Mondays because those are the 2 days that we have available at this time. And as time goes on, we will extend that out, okay? Hold for just one moment. Okay, so I want to go over the dividend document really quickly, and then we'll move on. And if you have any questions about the Moroccan American Exchange or any of the companies, we were talking about South Carolina before the recording started. One of the justices was saying that he's from that territory. A lot of the companies and the resources started there in South Carolina. There are some places where our ancestors just really worked. I mean, worked. They were everywhere, but there were some places that were hubs and meccas and metropolises for our ancestors and the activities. And South Carolina was one of them. Of course, New York, of course, Chicago, Detroit territory, definitely. There's so much. Detroit territory is rich in all things natural. You wouldn't know it by the narrative we've been fed. But if we quiet those narratives, we will really see that everything on this land, you know, this stuff that's on the surface, that means it's not the real face. You know, the bibliotheory talks about the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and then we, the gods, created. Well, that's where we are right now. There's a face of the earth, and then there's a surface. We were taught to look at the surface, but when our third eye becomes our first eye, we can then start to see the real face, which is ours. It looks just like us. So the Moroccan American Exchange, Universal Sovereign Original Indigenous, Dividend Inheritance Investment Agreement, and Article 3, Moorishe American Moroccan Consular Court Action. So for those who've not done a court action, an Article 3 Consular Court Action, when you return this document by email with your sovereign autograph on it, and the information that's asked for on there, that will be your first court action. So everything that we do is set up to make the Moors, the justices, the court, the heirs, everything. Our sovereign authority is scripted throughout each and every document as to who we really are. And we're going to be posting the investments that have been made and the companies that have been invested in by the heirs. We'll post an abbreviated list in the coming days and weeks. Most likely we'll have one by Sunday, and then we'll go from there, because our posting as the investments going in is even more valid than that fake corporate stock market. It's even more valid than that. That was never valid in the first place. The New York Stock Exchange, in red and all lowercase letters, is what our ancestors did. And the hybrids just copied it and put it in corporate, you know, they created a corporate creature. That's not valid. So all we're doing is taking back all of the resources that were said to have been abandoned by the heirs. They were said to have been abandoned, but we've been here the whole time. So when you turn in this document, it is your first court action. And I would encourage all Moors to start all of your documents with all rise and stand and make all of them court actions, consular court actions. And there's some language that goes with that, okay? For this one, so right here, this sovereign original indigenous, and that dividend investment agreement is between, and right here will be, I'll sign here once I get them back from you, in red in all lowercase letters with my right red thumbprint. And then your sovereign born appellation will be here in red in all lowercase letters as the sovereign creditor as well. And then the chief executive heir's sovereign security number. Sovereign security number, and we've gone over this previously, is the creditor number that was hypothecated. It was a creature, some creature in black ink with minus signs called a social security number. That's the creature that we send that one to Guantanamo Bay. And then those numbers, we put those numbers in their proper place without minus signs and in red, okay? And then the Moroccan American Exchange does hereby accept this sovereign inheritance investment in the gold-backed sum of, and then you can put whatever amount you want to invest in the company that you are going to grow and operate. So, for example, the Puget Sound, one of the companies on the list is the Puget Sound agricultural company. And if you go back to the previous video from the Sovereign Inheritance Symposium, we show in the quote-unquote Library of Congress where these companies are mentioned and hypothecated in black ink and capital letters. So we took that, we looked at that, and then we created sovereign companies. So for the Puget Sound agricultural company, of which I'm going to be a part of that and participate in the growth and operation of it, I'm going to put anywhere between 1 million and 50 million more sovereign dollarium or US dollars as my sovereign inheritance investment in the growth and operation of that company. Okay, so whatever company you choose, you can put that amount, that gold-backed sum there, and then you put the name of the company right here below that. As the sovereign Moroccan American Exchange Company, you put the name of it there. And so this document, all you have to do is, in its current status, just download it. It is 8.5 by 14. Download it and fill it out in red in all lowercase letters. And then just one moment. Let's see. Hang on just a second. Can you hear me? I just want to be sure. Can you all hear me? Okay, good. Okay, great. Islam. And then you put the name of the company here that you're going to work to grow and operate, and that you're the heir to, because again, we're all the heirs to all the companies. So even though, for example, I'm working with other Moors to grow the Puget Sound Agricultural Company in red and all lowercase letters, all Moors are still the heirs to it. So dividends that come from that, from the profits that are made from the things, whatever commerce we do, is going to, okay, well, the heirs will be privy to those dividends. What we're going to do initially is reinvest all dividends back into the growth of the empire, okay? And that we're going to do that with all the companies so that we can continue to grow everything that comes in. That's what we're going to commit to doing. So here at the bottom it says all dividends earned by the Moroccan American Exchange will be reinvested to preserve and ensure the empire for future generations to come. Dividends will be published annually or more frequently as determined by the chief executive heirs. So you all get to, those who have finished packets, completed packets, and we've gone through those packets and made sure that everything is in red and all lowercase letters, etc. And if you need template documents for your documents to be in red and all lowercase letters, send an email to thegovernment@gmail.com, thegovernment@gmail.com, and government has an E on the end, so it's thegovernmente@gmail.com. And send an email there, and we will send you all of the information. We'll send you the templates to the documents or samples of the documents in red that you can edit and use them at your will, including the name change, judicial proclamation, proclamation of trust, which is a one-page document that just says, hey, I have a trust and my trust is in the people who are the Moorish National Republic Federal Government. That's what all of us are saying and doing. My trust is in the people, the Moors, who are the Moorish National Republic Federal Government. So I'm doing the same thing. And in fact, my documents are the sample documents that are sent. We also sent out a sample lien, which is the lien that I did on those fake all black, all caps name and the fake all black debtor number that is the Social Security number. That is also going to be attached to the emails, a link to it. And then, and that's for those who want to look at those links and download the documents. And then we're attaching this dividend document as well as the list of companies and also a treasury check for your investment in the Moroccan American Exchange and the company that you want to operate and grow, that we're all the heirs to. Okay. So this is just, that's a simple, it's just a one-page document here. We wanted to keep everything very simple so that it's not complicated at all for any of us to do. And then the treasury check, we'll go over that really quickly as well. So let's go over the treasury check really quickly. Okay. The treasury check, we will put the check number in once we receive it back from you. So you don't have to worry about this first line here. We will put that number in, the check number in, and then convey to the Moroccan American Exchange, and then you put an amount here of MSD or USD. This amount should match the amount that's on the dividend document. And then you write the amount that you put here. So if you put 10 million gold back moorishe sovereign dollarium or United States dollars gold back here, if you write 10 million here, then write it out in words 10 million here, 10 million gold back dollars here. Then you'll put your sovereign creditor autograph and write red thumbprint here. And then your, I will put my autograph here and my write red thumbprint. And all of these documents you will get back, you'll get back copies of them with my autograph on them as well. And some more information about the companies and about what we're doing. And then you'll also be privy to any dividends, any earnings reports, anything that we put out there. And a lot of this is going to go on the public record. There will be some meetings and things that those who complete the packets and who have agreed that we're going to grow our economy and grow our nation and grow all of the gold back things that we do. We'll be privy to meetings that we have regarding the resources that we find on our land. We're uncovering resources all the time. And then also with regard to the liens that have been done. If you've done liens, then go ahead and get your packet in as quickly as possible, completed in red and all lowercase letters, so that we can discuss how to move forward in possession of whatever it is that you lien. Okay, because we need to go ahead and move forward on possession. We have a possession process, and we looked in the law and we found the possession process. Justice Abdul, I'm not sure why you cannot hear. I believe everyone else, is everyone else hearing okay? I believe, yes, they're saying they can hear okay. So what this, all of this Al-Moroccan, thank you, Islam. The Al-Moroccan American Exchange and all of its companies, I will tell you this, there are thousands and thousands of companies that fall under that 221 companies. Thousands and thousands of them. And in fact, there's not a company that exists in its sovereign original form that does not fall under at least one of those companies. How do we know that? Well, the original indigenous sovereign Federal Reserve that our ancestors started is on the list. That covers everything. All of the resources that the fakes were claiming, but they were not, they can't claim it. They were claiming to have cross-collateralized the resources, but we know now that those claims were fraud. So when you have the Federal Reserve in its original indigenous sovereign form, because again, the hybrids didn't create anything, there's nothing new under the sun. They didn't create anything original. All they did was create things that look similar but are not the same. They pretended to be the Americans, but we're the American. We're the real ones sitting right here, alive, breathing, and well. Same thing with all of these resources and all of these companies. So the Federal Reserve is one, the United States, the New York Stock Exchange is another. There's not a company, and Dun & Bradstreet is a third. That covers every, and I mean every, including the Vatican, including the, all of those resources, Fleet Street in London, 55 Water Street in New York, all of that is covered by the heirs in its sovereign original indigenous form, format, not form, but format. under at least one, if not more, of these companies that are on the list. So we got everything. Everything is covered by the Moors. We didn't leave anything out. If there are any smaller companies that you see them, because one of the empresses sent me a really awesome email the other day. She saw an ancient sea salt company in Nevada, and I did not have an opportunity to reconnect with her a third time. I reconnected with her a couple of times regarding that, but I needed to reconnect with her yet again because those companies already belong to the heirs because they're on our land. We've changed everything back to, and it hasn't changed, we just uncovered what was already there. Any of these companies on our land that have been doing things like any digging, any excavation, the Smithsonian, these museums, anything that's been uncovered is now covered by the heirs. All museums are within at least one, if not more, of those companies that are on the list, the 221 companies. So anything that the museums have belongs to the heirs already. Earlier today, or was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Yesterday, we sent an affidavit to the post office because the United States Postal Service is on the list. We started that too, in red and all lowercase letters. Okay, and then the hybrids hypothecated it and made it look like they were the real one when we're the real one. So we sent an affidavit claiming all of the mailings that our ancestors put in the system, and then it seems like they abandoned them. But they haven't really abandoned them because we are our ancestors' return. So there are actually storage places that have mail from the 1920s and 30s, if not before that, that just kind of got lost in the system, quote unquote, that because it had our ancestors' postage on it, when the hybrids incorporated, they just didn't move that mail. They set it aside for this time. Okay. And that's turning out to be the case with everything that we see, that everything was set aside, and then the hybrids did this whole show like they owned everything and like they were, you know, in control of everything and all that. That's just a big show. They're actors. And now we're seeing that all of the resources and things that our ancestors had their hands on are still here and haven't gone anywhere. So the Moroccan-American Exchange is creating the energetic conveyance method by which we can properly claim those, and we've already claimed everything. There are ancient factories and ancient buildings and ancient everything on the land that's just sitting here. Yes, it's a little overgrown. We're going to have to uncover it, but that's not something that we weren't willing to do even when we were in the corporate setting. We did everything. Well, that was in preparation for us to get out from under that corporate stuff and do it ourselves. So that's where we are. And again, if you've not sent an email to the government at gmail.com, please do so that you can get the inheritance and investment packet. And then we can meet face-to-face via freeconferencecall.com and discuss how to move forward with regard to the companies. And then in a very short while, we're going to set up meetings with all of the chief executive heirs who have stepped forward and completed the packet. And we're going to talk about the resources that are on the land and which ones we have actually went ahead and gotten and can go in and out of and use freely. This is a process that is working in stages and phases, okay, where we do the liens and the court actions on the property, and then we do a sovereign exchange with the Moors, other Moors that are in real estate. We do that part where there's a sovereign exchange and a credit instrument, a creditor instrument, okay, is exchanged. We put that on the public record along with the allodial title, the original or aboriginal, and in our case we say original because we're the ones who, we are our ancestors' return, and we're the ones who are crafting the original title in ancient English, in red and all lowercase letters. And so once all of that is done, then we go ahead and use that facility, whatever that facility is. And when we claim facilities, we're claiming them strictly for the growth of the empire. Like there is a facility here. Well, we have the warehouse on First Avenue down the street. First Avenue in red and all lowercase letters. We have that facility. We still have to do the real estate exchange on it, and we're in the process of getting those documents completed. But other than that, it's ours. It's really clear that it's ours, even from the perspective of the subjects. So that's how we're going to proceed in stages and phases, and we're going to take it one property at a time and one step at a time. And you know, everything that we're getting so that we can get the commerce going. And the purpose of our commerce is this. It's not just to enrich ourselves. The commerce that we're looking at for all Moors, when I say for all Moors, I'm talking all of the commerce that we all should be looking to do, is to do commerce that's going to assist us in the Grand Rising. And what that means is, for example, our sea salt company as a part of the Puget Sound Agricultural Company. The sea salt that we harvest is something that is medicinal. It's also, there are so many health aspects of it. So we're looking at it from that perspective in terms of purifying our bodies. That's going to assist in purifying our minds, making our bodies more alkaline, etc. That's why we are even looking at sea salt, because we know what it can do. Anyone who is facing any disease with regard to the heirs, that disease cannot exist in an alkaline body. No matter what the disease is, it doesn't even matter. Disease comes by way of a body that's too acidic. The sea salt puts an alkaline pathway. It accelerates everything that has to do with our bodies being more alkaline. We think more clearly when our bodies are alkaline. We're healthier. Everything lasts longer and is a lot firmer when we use natural sea salt instead of the stuff that's produced in the grocery store and in the laboratory, because that's not real sea salt. That's why you never see them out by the water harvesting and showing how everything is naturally harvested. They never do that with the sea salt piece. They never do that with any other stuff, really, because they can't. That's stuff we have to do. So this whole land and all of the resources on it is waiting for us to go out and harvest them. Right now, we should all be doing our research on, you know, if whatever plants and whatever it is that you're planning on harvesting off the land, be doing your research on how to use it and how it can be harvested in higher numbers, but still kept natural and fresh, so that all of the heirs can gain the benefit of whatever knowledge you have. The reason that we know also that the sea salt is effective is because whenever we would go into those fake hospitals, the animal hospitals, because that's what they were, and they put an IV in your arm, what are they putting in there? Salt water. But the salt water that they were putting in our arms was not natural for us. Our ancestors knew that salt water, okay, clean water and sea salt together it makes everything alkaline. Proof of that also is that when we didn't have refrigerators because we did not need them, it wasn't because we couldn't afford it, it's because we didn't need them. The meat would be salted if we ate meat. That's if we ate it. The foods we would sprinkle sea salt on the food to keep it fresh. And when you go to other lands and territories and you see them out, the fishermen out by the water selling fish, they don't have ice on the fish. They have salt on the fish. They don't put ice on it. In the chat it says, how can we get some from you? The only way to get sea salt at this point from what we're doing here, just one second. Justice Theodore, can you hear? Can you hear me? Hopefully you can, and hopefully everyone can. Can you hear? Islam? Can anyone hear me? Okay. Good. Thank you. See, when we get to this point, of course, there's going to be a little bit of, you know, the technology and stuff, but we still got this. With regard to sea salt here, the only way to get it is sovereign credits. That's number one. And that can be a United States Treasury instrument. That's the only way we're accepting any orders for sea salt here. And we have not moved into the facilities for the production of them yet, but we're in the process of doing the lien, the court action, and the real estate piece. And that real estate piece is the piece that we're really working towards. Because once we get that real estate piece done, then we can put that on the public record along with the title, and we can show that a sovereign gold-backed commercial exchange has taken place, because that's what, and it has to be competent, and that we can take care of the place and protect the place. We have to be able to secure it, and we have to be able to, because if anything happens, we have to take care of it. Okay? Period. So that's what we're going to do. And First Ave is part of that. Yes. The answer to that question is yes in the chat. Okay. So in the chat, Empress Shade, she says the second piece of the process maybe next Sunday. It's more of an affidavit process. It's not really a contract process. It's an affidavit process because we speak by affidavit. Even when we're dealing with one another, it's by affidavit. Affidavit agreement. Like this credit place, the creditor instrument. The creditor instrument is still an affidavit. It's a part of an affidavit. That's why we put court action at the beginning of the dividend document. Okay, so be sure, just one moment, and just know in the chat that is not our Justice Frank that's saying that. That's a hybrid pretending to be him because they can't be themselves. They don't like to be themselves. But that's just one moment. Let me make sure. Okay. Islam Empress today. Truth. So we want to, yes, it's Empress Portia. Y'all better come on now. In the chat, I'm not going to repeat that, but it is so true. So, are there any questions? Justice Jezreel, behave. Just, are there any questions or comments? If you'll *6 to ask your questions, there you go. Okay. Yeah, *6.
That wasn't hybrid, just like that was me. Oh, both of them. Okay. We were both my laptops.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
because they were using. I'm glad you can still hear.
Pauline, you're a fucking full of shit, dumb bitch. You will never possess that First Avenue. Just give it up, you dumbass. You're never gonna own that place, Pauline. Just give it up.
There's both me.
Please be quiet.
Both my laptops.
Whenever they start doing that stuff, they're not talking to us. So let's know that they're not talking to us, please. They're not, so we don't respond back. Okay. Let's see. We're gonna. That is correct in the chat. They can't talk to us. They cannot. So we don't talk back. We can only hear the living. Okay. Just one moment. And let me make sure that we can hear the air. Just one moment. Let me make sure that this is clear. I am going to kind of bring everything down just a little bit, just so we can hear. Just one moment. Okay. Let me make sure that we have what we need on the screen. Okay. Now. Okay. Are there any questions, comments, etc. from the heirs, Islam?
Islam?
Yes, Empress.
You keep it up. I just want to know if we had already did all the documents before? Do you still, all the affidavits and everything previously in the court actions, do you still want the heirs to still get that inheritance package, or is that for, you know, the new Moors that want to get the inheritance package and then send it to the exchange?
Yeah, send it to the exchange. And the reason I say send it to the exchange is because, just one moment. Hang on just a second. The reason I say send it to, because see, at the point where we are right now in all that we're doing, we're showing responsibility. And when you talk about being the heirs and operating companies, we're at high level at this point. This is beyond just introductory nationality. We're at CEO level, if that, you know, and I say CEO, I'm talking CEO in red and all lowercase letters. We're at that level with what we're doing here, because this is the beginning of the activation of the whole entire gold-backed economy. And that process requires a certain level of competence. Okay, and so the documents have to be correct, because those who were previously doing business as CEO and head of the Treasury and blah, 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 and all of that corporate fraud, they still had to have a certain level of understanding of who the Moors were, if nothing else, and a level of competence in order to even pull that off, in order to even do that. So we want to operate at a high level as well in terms of what we're doing, and that's what this is all about, okay, is operating at a higher level of overstanding. So yes, the documents, the email that is sent out is extensive. We know that it's expensive. But again, this is higher level because we have to get our economy going and go back where there's no question in anyone's mind that go back is what we do. Okay. So yes, everything, and this is the thing, it'll be simple for those who've been doing this already, who already have their documents in red and all lowercase letters. All it is a matter of attach, and send it back. And then send the check and the dividend, inheritance dividend document that was on the screen. So yes, this is yet another governing of the resources step that we're all taking so that, you know, we can move forward with what we need to do. Because remember, Empress, too, we never stop governing. We never stop governing, ever. Some people think, they feel that once we do a few liens and do a few court actions, that's all we need to do. Now it's just time to party and enjoy the estate. It's not that. We have so many other things and responsibilities. But if we want it, we'll do it. And this is something that we've been waiting to get to this point. We might have thought that, that it would be everybody put their feet up and party, but it's really not that. When to whom much is given, much is required. So those documents, and it's interesting, as I'm watching the documents come in, it's interesting to see how competent the Moors are at getting everything back in order. just like the email said, I mean, just the packets that were received today, the completed packets that were received today, they put in more stuff than I even put in the email. They were sending liens and, you know, just everything done competently, everything in order, everything in red and all lowercase letters. I'm like, and it's more that I have not really had any interaction with, but they were paying close attention and then doing their own study, because that's really the most important thing, is to do our own study on what's being said so that we know and we can stand on it. Moors have been doing, and I've been saying this in the past because I could feel it in my spirit, and every now and then I'd have interaction with them. But I've been saying that Moors are doing court actions and liens all over the place, and now we're starting to see they're coming up with documents that are just stellar, absolutely just completely competent, not one mistake. So, yes. I have to do it too, Empress, just so that you know. I have to do it too.
Okay, and you know something, I have a comment as well. It kind of goes along with everything that you're saying now, but also when you were showing all the different properties and the mounds and stuff on that call. You had mentioned about things being at peace when us and the hybrids were saying stuff parallel to each other. We're saying the same thing. And not too long after me and you got off the phone, because we talked about that, and you said as soon as you come and we'll say something in class, about a few days or a few weeks now, they'll be saying similar to the same thing. Literally after we got off the phone, probably about a couple days later, the first thing that came to my email, and I'm going to put a link to that article in the chat, was one with a guy from Natural News by the name of Mike Adams, and he had mentioned about how they were claiming the quote-unquote vaccine is making unvaccinated people sick. Unvaccinated people were coming down with the same symptoms, and they said that it was almost like the vaccine was made to be infectious, like an infectious disease. Going back to what you were saying in the very beginning, when the vaccine first came out, and you were saying, you know, should we have sexual relations? In the very beginning, it's like you've seen that without. They're saying they have proof of that now, but that was said on our class prior to him coming out with that. And then the second piece, he came out with something like a couple days afterwards going on about how the collapse of the economy. And one of the things that he mentioned was how all the crypto is pretty much going to be obsolete, about 99%. And he said something about, quote unquote, some type of, I don't know, government crypto, whatever he was talking about. Bottom line, he was talking about getting the gold and silver, because that's, you know, the only real, that's going to be the only real currency. And he said, and if anything, they may have like one, like government style type of cryptocurrency. That's what he was talking about. But it just went back to what we're doing with our sovereign credits, meaning like really these are going to be, he kind of verifying on the Albion side the same thing that we're saying. The reason why it's so important to get our inheritance package, to put this sovereign credits in place, to pass that to each other, because it's only going to be that, what you're saying, and the gold and silver and precious metals to be passed to one another. That's it. Everything else is a wrap. And he was pretty much just confirming a lot of the same things that we talked. But it was just funny to me, because it was right after we spoke, and he was like, oh, after we talk about it, then they talk about it. And he pretty much kind of did.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's it. That's it.
Well, I mean, you know, if you go out on YouTube, you will see that we leaned both Bitcoin and the whole blockchain. We leaned the whole thing. And when we leaned it, it cannot be a currency for them. It can't be. because it's goes back. When we lien it, once we lien it and then do a court action and then put it in all lowercase letters in red, that means it's goes back. That means that the courts can't use it. So now they're saying crypto is an asset but not a currency. And by asset, they mean that's just a place where they can put some energy that they would normally put in the stock market and all of that stuff. They can't do any of that, so they're putting it in crypto assets, which means nothing. And it is already obsolete from the corporate perspective. Everything has to, everything corporate and corpse and dead has to go away when the living stand. So we lien them, gosh, a year and a half ago, something like that. I don't remember the exact date, but it's out on YouTube. The court action is out there. And all of the court actions that we did were before we knew about in red in all lowercase letters, we have gone back and spoken amendment to it and put it in red and nunc pro tunc. So Bitcoin, blockchain, Facebook, all of that stuff. And so what are they doing? The hybrids are, not the hybrids, but the corpses are abandoning all of that stuff. They're abandoning it. The resources that they were fraudulently claiming. Why? Because it belongs to the heirs. And all we're doing is taking our time, making sure that our documents are sound, because everything starts with documents. Another something, I'll even prove that. Let me tell you how this whole thing was working back in the day. Do you remember in history, quote unquote, and you know this is their history that they were telling, how the one doing business as General Lee and the one doing business as, it was either Grant or Jackson. Let me see, I'm going to go back and look just to be sure, because I want to be sure I put this from the right way. It was the two that came together at Appomattox Court. Okay? The two that came together at Appomattox Court. Those two, quote unquote, generals, it was said that that's where they made peace. And one of them surrendered. The Union surrendered to the Confederacy or something along those lines. Okay? In fact, let me just go ahead and because I want to be sure I put this the right way. Okay. So on April 9th in 1865, it was supposedly the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse. And Robert E. Lee was said to have surrendered there his 28,000 Confederate troops to Union General Ulysses S. Grant. Okay. Those, all they were doing was court action, and they were not going throughout the land shooting and carrying on like that. They were not doing that. They say they were, but they weren't. They have us thinking that they brought out guns and started shooting at each other and all of that. Well, why would you need to go to a courthouse to end everything? Why? Could it be because it all started with a court action, so it has to end with court? And that court was being held all the way through that? That's why it's called a civil war. Civil means you're going to sit there and do what you do nicely with one another. Islam, go ahead, Justice.
Yeah. Look up in Black's Law, 4th edition. Look up the word battel, B-A-T-T-E-L, and what you will find is that it is trial by combat. And so in a lot of those so-called battles, they were talking about battles. They were actually talking about battels. It's just like you said, they were court actions. That's exactly what they were. That's how they took our land. They weren't fighting us. They were not fighting us. They were court battles. They were fighting battles in court. And so what you find also too, look, when you watch Western movies and you see where they do the gunfights, that's a battle. That's a trial by combat. The theory behind it is that heaven will reward the one who's meant to win, and so the sheriff didn't interfere because that was court. That was court, and that's why you see that they always have the gunfights in the saloon, because the counter of the saloon, that's the bench. You know, you're always dealing with courts, just like you said.
What?
You're always dealing with it.
100.
When you go into any place of business that has a counter, right? That's the bar. That is the bar. So it's just like you said. They're all you know. It's all court.
Yeah. That's what I was saying about the jail cells.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Everything is court.
It really is.
The side of the road is court. But we wasn't supposed to know that, Moors. And we were not supposed to know that we're the sovereign jurisdiction.
Oops, there it is.
Boom, right there. We were not supposed to know that. That is why, I'm just telling you what I saw when I was in that field. That's why I was supposed to go there. So I could see that every jail cell had a bench and a bar. And that while I'm standing there doing court actions, they can't move. The whole time it's been that. And guess what? When you go into, there's no place you can go that does not have a bar and a bench, I'll tell you that. No place you can go. Where is and see, this is going to be great. This is going to be great observation that we can do as we're looking around the territory. When you go in the grocery store, where do you think the bar and the bench is? Come on, think about it.
That's the counter.
Yes.
Every time, that's the counter.
And that's you know what else, Justice?
Don't we call when you go to a if you were to go to a restaurant and you go up to the bar, don't they also call it a counter?
Yes. And then not only that, every cash register is a bar and a bench. You might not sit down, but when you put your check or your payment up on that little bar that's sitting right there, y'all doing court actions. That's why they feel like they can tell you to wear a mask coming in there. When you there's a little thing where people used to put their checkbook up there and fill out the check, and we thought it was for convenience. No, it's a court action. And this is the crazy part, the beauty of it. It's not crazy, it's beautiful. We've been going into these places and ringing up our own stuff. Remember I told y'all, don't let them ring your stuff up, ring it up yourself. That is you taking full control of your own resources. And it's not a court action anymore. It's an affidavit because it's spoken by you. You're the law. Do you know that there was this hybrid when I went into the grocery store here one day? There was a hybrid there, and I went to, now I don't be caring how many items I have. I still go to the self-checkout. And they already know that about me in there. Well, one day I went in there, and this was about 2 or 3 months ago. I went in there. I had a cart full of stuff, but I didn't want nobody. You know, we're in control of our own. Those are our resources still, as synthetic as they are, and you know, but the hybrid that was supposed to be manning self-checkout, because see, again, like I told y'all, they've been saying that we don't even know, that we're not even competent enough to ring up our own groceries, so we need them here. And I'm saying, no, we don't. We can ring it up ourselves. Well, the one that was manning self-checkout, if it's self-checkout, you ain't myself. I'm myself. So what are you here for? And I'm not mad at them, because for a long time we didn't ring up our own stuff. We let them do everything, didn't we? Like we were babies. So I'm not mad at them. But she came and she was like, no, you can't, you know, you got, it says 15 items. It says 15 items. You know, she was hybrid. And I spoke the law to her. And she was getting to be a little belligerent. I said, and you know, I told her about the Constitution, still being belligerent. And see, this is why our ancestors want us to be at peace no matter what. So I said to myself, it's not worth it, because she started being aggressive and coming towards me. So I said, okay, I'm going to back up, and I'm going to go to this register here. I have not seen her there since then. And this was about 3 months ago. 2-3 months ago. Haven't seen her there since then. But see, I already know they had to let her go. They had to. She wasn't following the law. Once we speak it, we let the ancestors do everything else. That's why we don't have to be arm wrestling and going back and forth with these hybrids. Hadn't seen her there since then. There it is, Justice Yezreel. She became a liability because she was acting like she had some authority. Well, if I'm in my proper status, which I always am, then who's the real authority? And I don't have to fight with you. I don't have to respond to all of that aggression and harshness over some groceries that didn't even come from your refrigerator. I don't. But you won't be there. You will not be there. Our ancestors won't have it. Sometimes the ancestors test us that way. And if we respond harshly and we get all back up in their faces and, you know, despite the fact that we're right, then we kind of don't do good as well on the test as we could do. By saying, you know what, hey, I'm not going to fight on my land. I'm not going to fight on my land. This is not about that. You're a subject, and you're going to do what subjects do. And I'm not going to fight you, period. I'll step aside rather than fight you, because I already know who coming for you if I do that. I already know who's going to be waiting on you as soon as you turn around.
Are you people all insane?
There it is. You sound like the one that was at the register. So, you know, we don't have to go back and forth with them. This is our land, and it's gonna be our land. Period. We've been here and gonna be here. Haven't gone anywhere and ain't going nowhere. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom, etc.? Again, those two, they were giving us a hint when they talked about Grant and Lee being surrendering at the courthouse. They were telling us then there wasn't no guns going on, because if it was guns, they could have just shot each other. It was never that. It was never that. Empress Patricia, behave. That's the truth. It was never about guns and stuff like that. It was always about court action, all day, every day. And that's why now that we've gotten our courts up and running, all more should be doing court actions. Every last one of us should be doing court actions. When the hybrids talk about a civil war, and they're saying, I think we're going into civil war, I think there's going to be a civil war. Go ahead, Empress.
I kind of want to ask about this currency exchange. This Empress Aisha F.
Islam, Empress.
Islam. How is that going to affect us, or how is our government going to handle that?
Everyone is waiting on us. No one can exchange anything of value until we give it to them.
Okay.
We actually have to tribute to the other nations of the earth the gold-backed currency. We have to do that before there can be any exchange, because, see, if what they had any value, they'd already be exchanging it for gold. Wouldn't they?
Okay.
Empress?
Yes.
It doesn't have any value until we say so.
Okay.
That's how we're going to handle it, is we're going to, all of the original indigenous sovereign nations of the earth, we're going to tribute to them what gold-backed currency they need, and they can either keep it in their national currency, or they can exchange it for more sovereign dollarium or gold-backed United States dollars in red and all lowercase letters, which is everything that we do. So they can exchange however they want to do it. But it's their choice, their sovereign choice. Don't you ever wonder? Yes, you're welcome, Empress, and thank you for that question, because other Moors were wondering how any types of gold-backed exchanges and things like that are going to happen. It can't happen. If it could have happened, it would have. They can't do anything until we say, okay, now your currency is backed by gold, because we say it's backed by gold. Because even the gold on the other lands over there that we think are different from ours, that's ours too. They can't even dig that up.
Yeah, okay.
Can't get at it until we say so. And that's why the Al-Moroccan American exchange is so important, and more stepping up to operate and to invest into their own nation. And I'll tell you this, that United States Treasury instrument, really what it is a physical show that our full faith and credit is in ourselves and not anyone else. That's what it really is. But it has every bit of value that whatever you all put on it, that's the value that it has.
Okay.
Islam. Thank you for that, Empress. And I'm glad to hear you. You finally made it into the calls. I'm glad you made it, Empress. It's an honor to have you here.
I kind of I'm trying to figure out how to use this thing. I see. Even the keypad I didn't just figure out, okay, you had to hit the little symbol and then hit the number.
Yes.
And I'm still working with doing them liens online.
Yeah, Islam Empress. Well, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here, so you got time to do your study and do all that you need to do. We're not going anywhere. We're at home.
All right. Well, I'm feeling more and more at home. And I know you're right because everything we're talking about, it had been given to me at one point or another. I just hadn't learned to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yes, Empress. Yes, Islam, that truth center. You got the truth center in you. And when that truth center hears something and it hits that truth center, it's a wrap.
All right.
You know it's the truth. Yes. I'm glad you're here, Empress. It's such an honor.
Thank you. It's an honor to be able to communicate with the group while I'm listening.
Islam.
Islam.
I tell you this, Empress, I saw your profile photo on social media, and you look like one of my aunts. I'm telling you, you look like one of my aunts. My aunts, you do. You remind me of them. And that's, yes, they're absolutely beautiful, by the way, and so are you, Islam.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm following your photos and family stuff, things that you're posting too. Quite interesting.
Islam.
Well, I feel like this is family, and the more I study the word, the more I realize that we are family. We are one bloodline.
Yes, yes. Been that the whole time.
Right.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful.
Yes,
I'm glad we know.
Right, and I'm learning too. I'm putting my puzzle together.
Yes, Empress, I'm sure you have some pieces to the puzzle that, boy, we could just sit at your feet and listen. Because I know you. I just know.
I got so much stuff here. I got a whole library here of more stuff. I tell you, over the years, I asked the master why he had me collecting all this stuff, and he said, just hold it. It's going to come in useful, and it is.
Wow, I got goosebumps just hearing that, Empress. Wow. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to talk, Empress. And you know what? If all goes as we have it planned, I'd love to pay you a visit sometime soon and just sit at your feet and just listen.
See, you just confirming my spirit. So, yes, we need to talk.
Yes. Thank you so much, Empress. I'm just, it's an honor. I'm telling you right now, it's an honor.
Islam, peace.
Islam. Peace, Empress. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom, anything from any of the Moors?
Islam. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I had a question about, is there a point of reference for the list of companies that are in the document, that are in the packet?
Yes, so there are several points of reference for them. When you say points of reference, do you mean like where that list came from?
Yes.
Okay. On in the U.S. Archives, okay, I put a link to the U.S. Archives document.
Okay.
The day of the symposium, I put a link to the document in the U.S. Archives where the documents have been hypothecated. And all they did was tell the hypothecated story of how things happened. That's one place. And then in the Library of Congress, you can pretty much pull up. I know quite a few of those companies. You can pull them up in the Library of Congress. But see, a lot of that stuff, they're not going to even show it to us until later. But I happened to pull up the Puget Sound Agricultural Company and the Hudson Bay Company in the U.S. in the Library of Congress archives, their records. So that's 2 points of reference right there. And then a third point of reference is look up Lewis Cass or Lewis Cass Pacer. And you will see that same C-A-S-S. So Lewis is L-E-W-I-S. Cass is C-A-S-S. And then also look up Lewis Cass Pacer, which is I believe they're brothers who hypothecated the name of our ancestors, Lewis Cass Pacer and Lewis Cass. Look them up. Lewis Cass he was doing business as both Postmaster General at one point, as well as he worked with Thomas Jefferson to hypothecate the documents, and then he also was a U.S. Senator.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day. So you can look him up, and it will tell you about how he was a part of the quote-unquote Indian removal. Act,
another act.
And all of that to help hypothecate and just move us, you know what they did.
Off of our land. Okay.
Yes. And they moved us off of our land. They didn't really move us off our land, but they hypothecated that move through documents, court actions. So this is how they did it. They hypothecated the titles and called them deeds and put them in capital letters. That's the first thing they did. And then they sent those fake deeds that they created through their own fake courts and then handed them to us saying, you owe taxes on the land. Well, we're nothing in capital, we're no names in capital letters and all of that stuff, but we thought we were. Like some Moors today, they still think they're a name in capital letters, but they're not. And they fooled us that way into thinking that we owed something, and then guess what? Eviction off the land, etc. Yep. That's how they did it.
Thank you. I'm going to throw it up. Thank you so much.
Islam. Our ancestors knew that when it was time for us to wake up, that we were going to wake up. They knew that, and the hybrids knew it too. They're just hoping that, they were hoping that we did not get this part. Some were hoping that we didn't get this part, and others want us to get this part because they're tired of pretending and acting like they own something when they don't. Many of them want us to do this part right here that we're doing. Take back everything. And it really didn't go anywhere. It's almost like our stuff sat dormant for a while, waiting on us to wake up and go, oh, that's ours. Oh, that's ours. But we have to do that a certain way. Yes, they're tired of being responsible. And that's why sometimes when you hear people talking about the one that was doing business as State Queen, they call her the nanny state. And that's nanny state in black in capital letters. The nanny state. She was doing business as nanny to the children. But we're not children. We're the heirs, and we're competent heirs. And this that we're doing proves that we're competent to take full use and enjoyment of the estate. We just have to keep growing in the information and the knowledge and sharing it with one another and then working together. I'm so excited and so, I have no words for how many have requested the packet, how many have turned in the packets, and the numbers that they're turning in, because we have already far outpaced anything that fake stock market ever did. The Al Moroccan American Exchange right now with just the the autographs of the heirs who turned their packets in. We have leapfrogged so far over in quantum numbers the fake stock market. And as we continue, we're headed up to, you know, that number, it was like probably like a 17-digit number that they said was the quote-unquote national debt, which is their debt, not ours, because we don't have any debt. But we're leapfrogging leap airship and leap sovereign over all of that stuff. All of that. So
yes, Empress, like, what do I do after I terminate all my all contracts? And let's say I have fiat in the credit union, and what do I do with that? And also, like for example, when I go to the farmers market, how do I transact if I'm not using the fiat?
You transact the way you've been transacting, except you do everything electronically. So even at the farmers market, they accept something other than the paper Federal Reserve debt notes, don't they? Do they accept when you swipe the card and things like that at the market?
We have the traditional farmers market. You go, you purchase. They have their stores, and you purchase from them with fiat.
Well, let me ask you this, because, see, sometimes people think that swiping a card is fiat. Can you swipe a card there?
I can, but not at the farmers market. They don't transact with cards.
What do they transact with? Is it just the
$50
debt note?
Yeah.
Then you have to use them until we do what we're supposed to be doing, which is getting our own commerce going.
Okay.
See, we were supposed to be doing all of that, and it was supposed to be being done with gold-backed sovereign money. So we're in transition. So it's nothing to stress about. We're in transition. But the transition must happen. It must. And at some point, yes, Empress Shade, I like that better. Find one that will allow him to transact using the card. See, when you terminate all corporate contracts, the bank account then changes to a sovereign resource account. It's no longer dealing in fiat. It's dealing in sovereign credit. So that's not fiat. Unless you go to an ATM and they say, do you want cash? And you say yes, and it spits out a bunch of foreign Federal Reserve debt notes. But we don't do that. We don't use them.
Okay, so my account at the credit union, what happens with that? It's a sovereign
resource account. It's a sovereign resource account because you terminated corporate contract. Everything that's in it is sovereign credit. So it can stay there. You can do whatever you want, use it when you want to use it, and etc. Just use the card when you use it.
Which
Instead
card?
Of going in any card, any ATM card or credit, the card that's attached to that account, however you've been using it.
Okay.
But see, this is the thing. You're replacing the corporate paper where they feel like they can come and just ransack through the account and take whatever they want to take and all of that stuff. They can't do that anymore when we terminate the corporate contract. The resource is yours automatically. It belongs to you. The sovereign credits that are in there belong to you. Those are yours. You put them there. It's just the name of it changes. What you call it changes, which is going to change the nature of it and the way that it responds and whose voice it responds to. So they used to call us black. We look the same. We sound the same. but what you call us is different, and how we behave is different, and the things we know is different. So our nature has changed. Same thing with all of our resources and our properties and all of that. People who get Social Security and VA money and all of that, those are resources. Those are resources. Retirement, that's a resource. We just need to remove the corporate's ability to tax it. That's all. You've just removed their ability to tell you what to do with it. So they can't attach their debt to it. You get to say what happens to your resources and not them. See, the banking structures and the buildings and all of that belong to the board. Period. So you keep your credits in the bank. Those are sovereign credits now. They're not corporate, private, commercial paper. So see, the changes that were made in order to appear to steal these vast estates were subtle. They were subtle until they're not subtle anymore, and until those people come and try and tell you what to do. That's when it's not so subtle anymore. When they start throwing people in jail, and people are wondering, how is it that they can just throw us in jail when they feel like it? Because the changes were so subtle. The contracts were put in place, and we were just signing away, not knowing that we're using black ink instead of red. Seems like a minor, and that's why some Moors don't get it yet. It seems like something so minor that it doesn't really make a difference, but it makes all the difference in the world. You know what I found out recently? I found out recently, and I knew it, but I didn't know how. I found out recently that during the Renaissance period, the hybrids came up with all of these whitewashed, quote-unquote, whitewashed paintings where they made everybody pale in the painting. Right? Everybody who was dark like us. The next time you saw those paintings, they had people that were looking like hybrids in them. And they were passing them off as real, and the hybrids were dealing in them and acting like this is a real Monet, this is a real Picasso, this is a real, Beethoven really wrote this and composed this, etc. I found out that all of the originals that were done by the Moors, because Beethoven and Bach and all of them were Moors. Picasso was a Moor. All of them, including Michelangelo and all of them. The originals were Moors, but there was hypothecations of them. I found out that all of their work on their original composures, you know that their original composures, how? Does anybody know how you can tell a real Monet or Picasso or a composure that was done by Bach or Beethoven? Do you know how you can tell? Huh?
Red thumbprint.
You better believe it. There you go. They all put red thumbprints and red signatures, autographs on there. The same way we do our stuff. That's how you know it's real. So when they talk about, quote unquote, Bach and Beethoven, and they show you these things in black ink, and all these musical notes and all that, and the musical notes are in capital letters, no. The original musical notes were always in lowercase letters. Original musical notes, original composures, always in lowercase letters, in red. That's how you know. Our ancestors did the same thing they're telling us to do now. So, with that being said, boy, listen, why do you think they kept everything in the Vatican vault under wraps? Why do you think they kept it under wraps? They don't want you to know that it's red autographs and red thumbprints on everything, and that anybody else who uses red writing and red thumbprints in all lowercase letters are the heirs to all of that. They don't want you to, they didn't want, you weren't supposed to know that. You weren't supposed to know that anybody coming with that is the heirs. If they come to you with an affidavit, and the affidavit is signed and sealed in red with a bright red thumbprint, and it's got all lowercase letters, if we come with an affidavit, that means we own whatever we coming for. That means we own whatever we're coming for. And it's written in ancient English, too. Wait till you see some of them documents coming from under that Vatican. Just as ancient English as they want to be, in red. Watch. That's how they know that we're really the heirs, because this is not something that those education centers taught us. It came straight from our ancestors. They taught us the opposite. Black ink and capital letters. That's what they taught us. And then guess who wrote in red in school? The teacher. Whenever they would grade papers, remember they used to grade papers in red? And if you see red writing on there, you don't want to show your mother the red writing on the paper, because the teacher said that you got it wrong. See? Our ancestors know what they're doing. Most of the documents are now housed in fake Israel. Yes, they are. But we have documents on all lands. So, yes, that is correct. That is absolutely correct. And it's not even fake Israel. Believe it or not. And remember, Justice, fake Israel don't even have a government. They don't even have a corporate government over there. Go check the news. They've been trying to put a corporate government together, but it ain't but one real chosen people. And we're the government, so corpses can't pretend to be the government when we're the government. We're right here speaking. Yes, yes. They're all out, Justice. They're all out. Every one of them no longer. Because the real chosen people are sitting right here.
Islam?
Islam, Empress.
You know something? You had mentioned a little bit earlier about Queen Elizabeth, and how we know that she, whatever you want to call it, is out. But they mentioned something about that. It was some type of video I was watching on YouTube the other day, and they mentioned that not only that she was out, they said all of her corporate, they made a point to say everything that she had through her corporate empire was now canceled, but also they said those constitutions, and they made it clear to separate the real Constitution. They said, like, they made it clear to separate the real Constitution from the corporate, and saying that those constitutions, all that stuff is now over, is obsolete. That was coming from the Albions. They're saying that all that stuff is over. So if all of it's over, and they had their contracts with all the other corporate entities around the world, and they were the head of it, and all that's over, then there is nothing. They're saying that there is no more corporate hybrid corporations worldwide. It's all a wrap. It's all over. So what is left then? What's left? The only thing that was here from the beginning, that never left.
Yep. Yeah.
We are the only ones, period. And they're saying it now. And like I said, when they made it specifically to say their constitutions, the corporate, he said that, like the corporate, constitutions, that is over. But not the real one. Not the real one. Islam, I yield.
Islam Empress, I've been hearing them in their media making the distinction between corporate and not corporate, and capitalist and things that are outside of capitalism. Again, they're now saying the same things that we're saying. But our prophet said they would, didn't he? Didn't our prophet say that when they're staring death in the face that they're going to tell the truth? Yeah.
Islam Empress.
Yes. Yes. So, let's just keep going.
Islam
Empress.
He also said that one day the whole world would turn against the United States.
Yes.
Did you hear me? Okay.
Barely, but I know what you said. Go ahead and say it a little louder, Empress.
I said, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. I said, Noble Drew Ali also said that one day the whole world would turn against the United States.
There it is. There it is. And, again, that's why I say we're not mad at them. We don't have to go back and forth with them. We don't have to. They're subjects, and they are to be treated as such. Subjects, period. Not subjects with any authority over them more. They're just subjects.
Islam Empress.
Yes, Islam Empress.
This is Aisha again. Just a couple of pieces of information that might help someone out. I have been told, when you use the post office, that you can always get money orders, that, you don't have to keep funds in your house, like, cash. They cash fake money or whatever. But money orders are supposed to be like gold or whatever, and the date never runs out on them. And the other thing is there's an act called the Buck Act. The people can Google that, and it'll give you a lot of information in understanding how they pull this fake stuff on us through that act too.
Yes, they did, Empress.
Islam, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Empress. Yes, please, y'all, please. That was one of the first things that I learned. And I actually learned about the Buck Act from one of my brothers who comes from the same Stargate, Sage, my brother Sage, because he studied the Buck Act intently. And he said it, the Buck Act is what they use to overlay the corporate covering over everything and pretend like they own everything and pretend like they're the real Americans. The Buck Act is the capitalist system. That was the beginning of capitalism. The Buck Act. That's how they did it. Capitalism. Using capital letters and black ink, and then passing those documents off as real documents, and passing it off as if it was really the law. And they pretended like it was coming from us. That's the Buck Act. Empress, that's good. That's real good. That's great information. And we're probably going to get a lot more information when we Google it now than before.
We are. I know it's been going the last time I went in there.
Yes.
Islam.
Wow. Thank you, Empress.
You're welcome.
Islam.
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 I promised myself I wasn't going to say anything, but then I can't. I have to talk about this because the act that actually has our people caught up right now is the one of saying they're black, but it is not what we think it is. Because our people are claiming they're black because they, number one, they don't know etymology. That's one. And two, they don't know connotative versus denotative speaking. And why you see we put out there that we are the black lords or the dark lords, not the black lords, is because we have never not been dark. What we were convinced is that dark is black, just like we were convinced that 0 is odd. Those are two of the biggest crimes against ourselves, because we did it to ourselves by forgetting or not remembering values, where values start, and that the O or ought, which Noble Jewelry said, he says it, ought, puts it right there in the 101s. Ought is everything. If ought is everything, how can it be 0? He says, naught is the shadow of ought. And shadows have no intrinsic value, but can be given a value by ought. That's one part. Now the black versus dark. Dark is where everything is produced. Nothing is actually created in the light. We are dark workers because we create in the dark, and then we put it out in the light to be used by those who can only use light or sight. Which is why, even out from the old Bibles, when we were puzzled about, okay, how's dark, how did everything was dark and then light came after several days? Well, it's telling you, it's a metaphor that, we're not, but we were convinced. We were convinced that we're convinced that black and dark are the same thing essentially, when in fact they're exactly not the same thing, because dark is dark and black is pale. So how could we ever be the same? And it's just those little things that we must get the confusion out of mind by correcting our literature. Because if we can't change our literature, which means we're minding the right things, we're not going to make any changes, because all the changes have to happen in the dark. And then we'll see them in the light. It's where it's always been, never has been any different, and won't be any different. Islam.
Islam. Light and dark cannot dwell together is what the biblioteliotext says. Go ahead, Nobility. Go
ahead. Because light is emitted from the dark. And the easiest way to figure it out. Is there a dark switch any place where you operate? Does anyone here know of a dark switch? That you turn on the dark switch and dark comes on? No. But there is a light switch which you turn on and it illuminates part whatever it reaches in the dark. But the moment you turn it off, you don't have to switch on the dark. The dark is there. And the dark, what we talk as dark matter, and even much more dark energy. Dark energy is known to be, sometimes they'll tell you 78%, 82%, 90%, but between dark energy and dark matter, so to speak, that is over 99% of what exists in the seen and unseen. And we're playing around in the light as light workers, which they convince us we're supposed to be, which is why we kick our own selves in the butt when we think we're supposed to be light workers. Because the light comes from within and shines out into everything when we're finished making it what we want it to be. That's why we must mind carefully always. Islam.
Islam. Islam. With that being said, if there is nothing further from the heirs, Islam, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs.
Islam, doctors. Islam. The Moors. Islam.
Islam, grand rising heirs.
Islam Empress. A quick question.
Yes.
Can I have a copy of the all the companies? I don't know if I have that.
Yes, you sure can. I will send it to you via email.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You get the email from this place? I'm mistaken, because I know
when you enter when you request a packet, that list comes with it.